Hey everyone, it's Richie. I hope you guys are all doing well. Today I was originally going to upload a video on my build for Springtrap, my preferred build for him since he's been in the game for a couple of days now, and I thought I could share that. But I'm shifting my focus to something else because, in classic fashion, with the release of a brand new killer, DBD Twitter is having yet another meltdown. But hold on my friends, let us not jump to conclusions. Let's see if we can try to guess what they might be having a meltdown over. Are they having a meltdown over A. Twins being bugged so badly that they are unplayable for the 15th billionth time? I feel like this happens every patch. B. The fact that Springtrap has released with 2 game-breaking bugs, one of them making him invisible upon exiting a security door, and the second one flipping your audio upon using the security cameras. C. The fact that Behavior's Go Next prevention system has been a complete and total failure, with players getting penalized for dying too early within the matches. This literally needed to be kill-switched. Or D. Complaining that Springtrap is broken, brain dead, and calling for him to get nerfed 2 days after his release. If you guessed D, congratulations my dear viewer, you are correct, and for that you win the prize of being blocked by these people on Twitter. Okay, on a more serious note though, people are complaining about the first 3 things. I mean, those Springtrap bugs in particular are just insane to me because they weren't even on the PTB. Like, how do you manage to have a decent PTB and a worse release? Like, Jesus Christ. But I have seen way more people complain about Springtrap than I have the first 3 issues that I mentioned. And I know, I get it, there's supposed to be this cycle of every time a new killer comes out, everyone bitches and moans and complains and they want them to get nerfed, but like, come the fuck on guys, it's getting a little bit old. Don't get me wrong, there are some killers that I do think were released in completely broken states and that need toning down, like Kaneki for example, but Springtrap has been one of the best releases this game has ever seen from a balance perspective. The bugs playing as Survivor aside, that part is really bad. Playing as Springtrap is great, and once those bugs get fixed, if anything, I think he's going to need buffs. I see pretty much 2 big complaints being thrown around on Twitter. One of them is complaining about back revving, and the second one is complaining about zoning. So let's go over these terms and what they might mean, right? For anyone not familiar with back revving, it essentially means walking up to a survivor and just using your M2. Hillbilly popularized this, and now Bubba does it, Huntress can do it, and of course since Huntress can do it, Springtrap can do it, right? Now, the thing that confuses me is that people are complaining about this with Springtrap now, when this has been a thing since the game came out in 2016. I was playing back then. Hillbilly came out with the game, and back revving was very much a thing upon release. It wasn't called back revving, there wasn't a term for it, but Hillbilly would definitely walk up to people and chainsaw the survivor for an insta-down. I mean, it's not rocket science, it doesn't take a genius to think about doing that. I don't think it was an issue when Billy first came out, I don't think it's an issue now. And if you're the one person who has been playing since 2016 and had an issue with it back then and still has an issue with it now, I really don't know what to tell you, because you're essentially complaining about a killer using their power. That's like being mad at a nemesis using his tentacle on you to build infection instead of just M1ing you. That's like being mad at Wesker using his grab on you to throw you into a worse spot away from loops instead of just M1ing you and let you walk wherever you want. You see where I'm getting at here? You are getting mad at a killer for using their power. And if that's seriously what you have the issue with, then I'm sorry, but your complaint is not real. The second thing that I want to talk about is zoning. More so, using your M2 and then canceling your M2. This is also not a novel concept. It's been in the game for a long time. Multiple killers can do this. A lot of killers can do this. Probably the most notorious example is Demogorgon, if you ask me. Essentially, you hold out your M2, and then the survivor starts trying to strafe it or dodge it. You might dissuade them from vaulting a pallet, or dropping a pallet, or vaulting a window, because you might get a free hit off. In the case of Springtrap, at least, since you have a projectile. But then you cancel your M2 afterwards, just walk forward and get a free hit because the strafing that the survivor did caused them to lose distance. That's pretty much what zoning is in this example. They're just getting mad at people canceling their M2, and again, Demo is a very, very big offender of this. But the crazy part is that Demogorgon is one of the most well-liked killers across all communities in DBD. It's one of the most balanced killers they've ever added. Everyone relatively likes the Demogorgon. And again, before the one person who actually has disliked Demo since release because of this starts typing in my comments section, that is purely a you problem, your complaints are not real. It is a 50-50, get over it. So yeah, I don't really get people who are complaining about this either because multiple other killers can do it. Why is it suddenly a problem now? It's been in the game forever. I guess it could be because Springtrap has a very high skill ceiling, so people are mad that most people aren't going for these crazy trick shots, but like, is anything going on up there? Are you guys using your brain? Guys, the killer has been out for 2 days. Of course, people are not going to go for these risky ass plays. They need to learn the guy first. Even after you do dump a good amount of hours into Springtrap, it's probably safer to go for an M2 mind game or just a simple axe hit than it is to try to snipe someone over a wall, especially if you don't have any aura reading on them. Again, you are essentially getting mad at a killer for using their power in an attempt to win the game. Are we serious? People are under no obligation to play nice. Come on now. That isn't even the best part though, because if we look at the type of people who are complaining about these two things on Twitter, we get to see some pattern recognition here, boys. Alright, stick with me for this one. The type of people who are complaining about this usually fall into one of two categories. The first category is that they just don't play killer at all. They're one-trick survivor players, and this doesn't surprise me because this happens with every new killer. People who have never touched killer in their lives are complaining about part of their kits without even bothering to learn the counterplay for them, so whatever, that doesn't surprise me. The second type of person that's complaining about Springtrap right now are killer players that will defend dash killers until their last breath. Once you realize this, the truth becomes obvious. They aren't bashing on Springtrap because he's actually broken or brain dead. They're bashing on him because he's a ranged projectile killer. These guys are totally cool with the past 50 releases being complete and total dash slop. But the second one killer that doesn't fall into that category gets added, nah, like this guy's brain dead, he's broken, he's boring. Actually insane to me. I'm sorry, you cannot be saying this while the killers you play consist of Ken Kaneki and Blight. Yeah, because those guys are the epitome of player skill expression. Like, okay man. God forbid we go one release without a dash killer. The horrors, we got a ranged projectile killer that can zone people. The world is ending! Now, if it isn't obvious enough, I do not like dash killers. What they're saying about Springtrap, I would mostly say about the majority of dash killers in the game. I find them boring, I don't think they're fun to play, and playing against isn't much better. However, do I go out of my way to campaign for these guys to be gutted because I don't like them? No. But that's what these guys are doing against Springtrap. Just because you don't like something in a video game doesn't mean that it should be nerfed. If it is statistically balanced and there are more people who like it than there are people who dislike it, it's fine. You're never going to please everyone. So do I agree with most of these things being said on Twitter? Hell to the fuck no, I don't. Springtrap has some pretty bad bugs going on with him on the survivor side. That cannot be ignored, and I'm shocked that shit even made it to live servers. But once those bugs are fixed, I genuinely think Springtrap sits around somewhere maybe mid to high B tier at best. He's one of the few killers that on release, I think at least his base kit feels perfect. It does not need any changes. Maybe this is just a case of the community cannot fathom the fact that a killer released in a decent state in terms of objective game balance. I don't mean in terms of bugs. That's a whole different story, but in terms of balance, Springtrap is very near the perfect mark. But whatever, all we can hope is that behavior doesn't bend the knee to these people because Springtrap does not need any nerfs. Some of the add-on and perk nerfs I already thought were unnecessary, but now people are clamoring for nerfs to his base kit, like come on man. To end this video on a more positive note, I do want to mention something that I was talking about in my last video briefly. I didn't want to make a whole video dedicated to this, so I think I'm just going to mention it now real quick. There's something that got changed this patch that wasn't even in the patch notes, and it's a fantastic change. Killer item spawns now take priority over chests. For those of you who don't know, killer items like Sadako TVs or Xenomorph tunnels or, of course, now Springtrap doors share spawns with chests around the map, but the chest used to take priority, meaning that in a good number of your games you would end up with a lot of useless fast travel placed around the map that wasn't near generators at all that you really couldn't use to your advantage all that well. It also meant that survivors could bring offerings in order to increase the number of chests in the trial, which would really screw over your power because, again, all of those chests will spawn before your killer power does. So, the more chests that spawn, the less good spots you have to get your killer power placed down. Bringing the cut coin offering was pretty much mandatory for all these killers, and it was a pretty miserable experience. This has been something that's been in the game for years, by the way. Well, thanks to a forum post made by JC Glitchmaster, which you should totally check out his YouTube content, by the way, it's very good. This actually got changed in this patch, and again, it wasn't even in the patch notes. Now, the killer items will take priority over the chest spawns, which means that you're usually going to get your killer items spawning right next to generators as they should be. So you're going to get value out of these TVs, out of these doors, out of these tunnels. Very, very welcoming change. I'm happy to finally see it fixed after so many years. All it took was the most hyped chapter of all time being affected by it, but oh well, better late than never, I guess. Sucks that it took this long, but I gotta give credit where credit's due. They fixed it, they implemented a good fix at that, and I'm very happy with the result. Now let's see if they can finally get their chapter releases right and not break shit that wasn't even broken on the PTB. Yeah, maybe when hell freezes over. But yeah, that's gonna be it from me, guys. I'm gonna be uploading Springtrap gameplay on that build that I was talking about earlier in this video relatively soon, so look forward to that. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.